She wanted me to be successful, Judge. She gave me that money willingly. It was a gift for my business.
You've seen it 1,000 times. A son leans over to his mother, not to offer a hand of support, but to take the last of what she has. They call it family business, but in Judge Judy's courtroom, it's called a betrayal. Today, a young man named Ryan steps to the podium with a smirk that says he's untouchable. He has $50,000 of his mother's retirement money in his bank account, and his defense consists of only 3 words that made the air in the room turn ice cold. It was a gift. Most people wait for the evidence, but if you look closely at Judge Judy's face, you'll realize Ryan has already lost. In the next few minutes, you are about to witness the moment where arrogance meets a stone wall of justice. You will see why a mother's tears are the most expensive thing a son can ever borrow. If you believe that honor should still mean something, you cannot afford to turn away from this. Let's talk about Mrs. Eleanor. She's 72 years old. She worked 35 years as a registered nurse in a busy Chicago hospital. Her hands are weathered from decades of labor, and her savings were supposed to be her freedom fund, the money that ensured she would never be a burden to her children. For so many of us, this is the ultimate fear, the fear of losing independence, the fear that the people you raised, the ones you sacrificed your own dreams for, will look at your aging not with compassion, but as an opportunity. Eleanor didn't come to court because she wanted the money back. She came because she was heartbroken. She gave Ryan the password to her accounts during a week when her health was failing, trusting him to pay her medical bills. Instead, the money vanished into high-end cars and investments that only benefited him. Ryan stands there, 28 years old, wearing a suit that was likely bought with his mother's Social Security check. He looks at the camera, then at the judge, with a posture of pure entitlement. In his mind, he is the victim of a forgetful old woman. He has no idea that Judge Judy doesn't just read law books, she reads people. She sees the micro-expressions of a liar, the way his eyes dart to the exit, the way he adjusts his tie when the word trust is mentioned. Judy leans forward. She doesn't look at the files yet. She looks at Ryan's eyes. She sees the lack of remorse, the arrogance of a youth that thinks the elderly are invisible. Mr. Miller, Judy starts, her voice a low, dangerous rumble. Your mother says this was a loan for her medical care. You say it was a $50,000 gift for your business venture. Tell me, in what world does a woman on a fixed income give away her entire life's safety net to a son who hasn't held a job in 2 years? Ryan doesn't flinch. This is the arrogant son archetype. He replies instantly, "She wanted me to be successful, Judge. She said she didn't need it anymore. It was a gift, period." The courtroom goes silent. It's that specific kind of silence where everyone knows a storm is coming. You can see the court officers in the background, shifting their weight. They have seen this play out 100 times. They know that when Judy's pen starts tapping the bench, the clock is ticking on a liar's luck. Eleanor, sitting at the plaintiff's table, looks down at her hands. She isn't angry. She is grieving. She is grieving the son she thought she raised. This is the pain point for every parent. The moment you realize the person you love most is the one capable of hurting you the deepest. But Judy isn't done with the setup. She turns to Eleanor. "Madam, did you sign a gift letter? Did you write a note? Did you tell the bank this was a gift?" "No, Judge," Eleanor whispers. "I gave him the access because I couldn't walk to the computer. I was recovering from surgery. I trusted him." Trust. That's the key word. In Judge Judy's world, trust isn't a legal loophole, it's a sacred bond. Ryan interrupts. "There's no contract, Judge. You can't prove it's a loan." And right there, Ryan made his fatal mistake. He thought the absence of a paper trail was his shield. He forgot that in this courtroom, common sense is the highest law. Judy's eyes lock onto his, and for the first time, the smirk on Ryan's face begins to flicker. The predator just realized he's the one in the cage. The silence in the courtroom following Ryan's outburst is heavy, the kind of stillness that precedes a landslide. Ryan stands at the podium, his chin tilted upward, a posture of fake confidence that many young men use when they believe they are the smartest person in the room. He thinks he's winning because there isn't a signed contract. He believes that without a piece of paper, the law is blind. But he is about to learn that in this room, Judge Judy is the law, and she sees exactly what he is trying to hide. Judy doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. She leans back, her eyes narrowing as she scans the bank statements Eleanor provided. For our audience watching at home, those of you who have spent your lives working hard and saving for a rainy day, this moment is visceral. You recognize those bank statements. They aren't just numbers on a page. They are the physical manifestation of 35 years of Eleanor's life. Every shift at the hospital, every double-duty weekend, every holiday she missed with her family is represented in that balance. And Ryan spent it in less than 3 months. "Mr. Miller," Judy says, her voice as sharp as a scalpel, "you say this $50,000 was a gift. Let's look at the timing. Your mother had a major operation on the 14th of June. On the 16th, while she was still in the recovery wing, you withdrew $15,000 from her savings. On the 18th, another $10,000. By the end of the month, half of her life savings was gone. Tell me, Ryan, was your mother so overwhelmed with generosity while she was on high-dose pain medication that she decided to fund your lifestyle? Or did you simply see an open door and walk in?" Ryan's face reddens. The smirk is gone, replaced by a defensive, jagged energy. "She told me to take care of things," she said. "Ryan, I want you to be set up for the future. I'm her son. Why is it so hard to believe she wanted to help me?" This is the entitlement trap. Ryan is trying to use his status as a son as a license to steal. Judy slams her hand onto the bench, the sound echoing like a gunshot. "Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining, sir. You didn't take care of things. You took care of yourself. Did you pay her mortgage that month? No. Did you pay the surgeon? No. Eleanor had to receive a past due notice from the hospital while she was still learning how to walk again because you were too busy buying leather interiors for a car you can't afford to insure." Eleanor, sitting just a few feet away, lets out a shaky breath. This is the moment where the social mask falls. Every parent watching understands this specific agony, the realization that the child you protected has become the person you now need protection from. Judy turns to Eleanor, her expression softening just a fraction, a rare display of empathy that signals she has identified the true victim. "Eleanor," Judy asks, "why did you wait 4 months to bring this to court? Why did you give him so many chances?" Eleanor's voice is small, but it carries to the back of the room. "Because I kept hoping he would tell me the truth. I kept waiting for him to say he made a mistake and that he'd fix it. I didn't want to believe my son would leave me with nothing." That is the hole in the heart of this case. It's not just about the $50,000. It's about the death of a mother's hope. Ryan rolls his eyes, a gesture so disrespectful it causes a collective gasp from the gallery. He actually sighs, as if his mother's heartbreak is an inconvenience to his schedule. "Oh, please," Ryan mutters. "She's just being dramatic because she's lonely." The air in the room shifts. The court officer takes a half step closer to Ryan. Judge Judy's pen stops moving. She stares at Ryan with a look of pure, unadulterated disgust. This is the psychological pivot. Ryan has just proven he isn't just a thief. He is a predator who views his mother's vulnerability as a weakness to be exploited. "You think she's dramatic?" Judy asks, her voice dropping to a whisper that is more terrifying than any shout. "I think you're a cold-blooded opportunist who saw a sick, elderly woman as an ATM. You didn't wait for her to pass away to claim your inheritance, Ryan. You decided to rob her while she was still breathing and fighting for her life. And you have the audacity to stand in my courtroom and call her lonely?" Ryan tries to speak, to interrupt, to find another loophole, but the walls are closing in. He is no longer the arrogant son. He is a man caught in the bright lights of his own greed, and Judge Judy is just getting started. There is a specific sound in a courtroom when a lie begins to crumble. It isn't a loud noise. It's the sound of a single sheet of paper sliding across a wooden desk. Judge Judy picks up the primary exhibit, the paper trail that Ryan thought would never catch up to him. For those of you listening who have spent a lifetime balancing your checkbooks and making ends meet, you know that numbers don't have emotions. They don't have agendas. They only tell the truth, and the truth is screaming from these pages. Judy adjusts her glasses, her eyes scanning the document like a hawk looking for movement in the tall grass. "Mr. Miller," she says, her tone deceptively calm, "I'm looking at your mother's savings account. It's a classic story of a life well lived. Small deposits over 30 years. A steady climb. It's the map of a woman who saved for her peace of mind. And then we get to the month of June. The month your mother was rolled into an operating room." She pauses, letting that image settle in the minds of everyone in the room. "On the day of her surgery, there is a withdrawal for $5,000 at an ATM 3 blocks from your apartment. Not the hospital, your apartment. 2 days later, another $5,000. And here is the one that really interests me. A wire transfer for $20,000 to an exotic car dealership. Tell me, Ryan, did your mother, while recovering from anesthesia, decide that you desperately needed a pre-owned Maserati? Or did you just assume she wouldn't live long enough to notice the balance was gone? Ryan's defense is deteriorating. He shifts from foot to foot, his hands gripping the podium so hard his knuckles turn white. She knew about the car. She said I needed to look the part if I was going to be a successful entrepreneur. She wanted to invest in my image. Your image? Judy fires back, her voice rising in pitch. You are standing here in a $500 suit, talking about your image, while your mother is facing a foreclosure notice because her mortgage payment bounced. You didn't invest in a business, Ryan. You invested in a fantasy. You spent your mother's security on a lifestyle you didn't earn. You took the medicine she needed to survive and spent it on jewelry for your ego. This is the breaking point. Eleanor, who has been trying to remain stoic, finally breaks. A single tear tracks down her weathered cheek. She doesn't sob. She just looks at her son with a profound sense of loss. It's the look of someone who has realized that the foundation of their life was built on sand. For our viewers, this is the heart-hole of the story. It's the realization that the greatest danger doesn't come from a stranger in a dark alley, but from the person you tucked into bed every night for 20 years. Judy turns her attention back to Eleanor. Eleanor, did he ever offer to pay a single bill during those 4 months? No, Judge, she replies, her voice trembling but clear. Every time I asked about the balance, he told me the bank was having technical issues. He told me not to worry, that he was handling everything. I wanted to believe him. I really did. Of course you did, Judy says, her voice uncharacteristically soft for a moment, because you're a mother. And a mother's heart is the only place where a person like Ryan can find a hiding spot. But the hiding is over. She turns back to Ryan, and the soft tone is gone. It is replaced by the cold steel of justice. You see, Ryan, you made a very big mistake. You thought that because you had her passwords, you had her permission. You thought that because there was no written contract, there was no law. But there is a law that predates this court, and it's called fiduciary responsibility. When you took that access to help your sick mother, you became her protector. Instead, you became a parasite. Ryan tries one last, desperate move. It's my inheritance anyway. What difference does it make if I get it now or 10 years from now? The courtroom erupts in a low murmur of shock. Ryan has finally said the quiet part out loud. He has admitted that he views his mother's life as nothing more than a countdown to a payday. Judge Judy stares at him, her face a mask of iron. She doesn't speak for a long time. She just lets his words hang in the air, rotting, so that everyone, including Ryan, can smell the stench of his own entitlement. Mr. Bird, Judy says, looking at the court officer, keep a close eye on this one. I think we're about to see what happens when a fantasy finally meets reality. Judge Judy doesn't just listen to words, she listens to the rhythm of the truth. And right now, Ryan's rhythm is frantic, jagged, and desperate. He stands there, adjusting his expensive jacket, trying to maintain the image of a successful businessman. But in this room, he looks like a child caught with his hand in a jar that doesn't belong to him. Judy looks down at a specific document, a credit card statement, and the temperature in the room seems to drop another 10 degrees. Mr. Miller, Judy says, her voice like a velvet hammer. You've spent a lot of time today talking about your ventures and your investments. You told this court that your mother gave you this $50,000 to help you build a future. So, let's look at your version of a future. I see a charge here for $4,000 at a luxury boutique in Beverly Hills. I see 5-star hotel suites. I see bottle service at nightclubs. She looks up, her eyes piercing through his facade. Tell me, Ryan, which part of your mother's recovery from spinal surgery required you to fly first class to Vegas? Was the champagne for her? Or was it a gift to yourself that you thought she was too weak to notice? Ryan stammers, his face turning a dark, blotchy red. I was networking, Judge. You have to spend money to make money. Those were business expenses. My mother understood that. She wanted me to have the best chance at success. Success? Judy scoffs, the word dripping with contempt. Success is earned, sir. It isn't stolen from the medicine cabinet of a 72-year-old nurse. You weren't networking. You were playing dress-up with someone else's life savings. You took the money she intended for her home, health care, and her mortgage, and you used it to buy the illusion of a life you haven't the character to lead. For everyone listening, this is the moment where we see the guts of the betrayal. It's the entitlement that we see too often in the modern world, the idea that the younger generation is somehow owed the fruits of their parents' labor without any of the sacrifice. Ryan isn't just a defendant, he is a symbol of a broken moral compass. Judy turns to Eleanor, who is visibly trembling now. Eleanor, did he ever tell you he was spending the money on these things? Did he show you the receipts for the car? The hotels? No, Judge, Eleanor says, her voice cracking. He told me he was moving the money to a high-yield account to protect it. He said he was being my financial guardian. I thought he was finally growing up. I thought he was taking care of me. He was taking care of you, all right, Judy snaps, turning back to Ryan. He was taking care of you the way a wolf takes care of a lamb. He waited until you were at your most vulnerable, pinned to a hospital bed, and then he picked your pockets. And the most disgusting part, Mr. Miller, isn't the money. It's the fact that you used the word love to get the password. Ryan tries to cut in, his voice rising in an arrogant whine. You're making me out to be a monster. It was a gift. She can't take it back just because she has buyer's remorse now. The room goes dead silent. The arrogant son has just committed the ultimate sin. He has blamed the victim. Judge Judy's pen hits the desk with a final, echoing thud. She leans so far over the bench that Ryan instinctively flinches. Buyer's remorse? She repeats, her voice a low, lethal hiss. The only remorse in this room, sir, is the remorse this woman feels for bringing you into this world. You stand there with your polished shoes and your borrowed car, and you have the nerve to talk about remorse to the woman who spent 35 years on her feet so you could have a roof over your head? You didn't get a gift, Ryan. You got a temporary pass to act like a thief, and that pass just expired. Ryan's mouth opens and closes, but no sound comes out. The con artist has run out of script. He is standing in the wreckage of his own lies, and for the first time, he realized that no amount of charm or business talk is going to save him from what comes next. There is a moment in every high-stakes drama where the air seems to thin, where the person telling the lie realizes that the ground beneath them has finally vanished. We have reached that moment. Ryan stands there, still trying to fix his tie, still trying to project the image of a man who is simply misunderstood. But Judge Judy is no longer looking at him. She is looking at a small, yellow piece of paper that was tucked into the back of Eleanor's folder. For those of you listening who have ever felt like your words weren't enough, who have felt like he said, she said, would leave you in the shadows, pay attention. This is the power of the paper trail. This is why we tell you to keep every receipt, every note, and every letter. Because the truth doesn't need a loud voice. It just needs a record. Mr. Miller, Judy says, and her voice has shifted. It's no longer the sound of a question. It's the sound of a closing trap. You've spent 30 minutes telling me that your mother, in her infinite wisdom and recovery, decided to gift you $50,000. You've told me there was no paperwork because it was an act of love. You've told me she wanted you to have a Maserati while she couldn't pay her electric bill. It's a very touching story, Ryan, truly. It belongs in a fairy tale for predators. She lifts the yellow paper. But then, I found this. This is a handwritten note, dated June 20th. That's 4 days after the first withdrawal. It's written on hospital stationery. It's in your handwriting, Ryan. And it's addressed to the head of the billing department at the surgical center. The color drains from Ryan's face so fast it's as if a plug was pulled. He opens his mouth, but only a dry, raspy sound comes out. Judy reads the note aloud, her voice echoing with a cold, rhythmic precision. It says, "To whom it may concern, I am Ryan Miller, the son and financial representative of Eleanor Miller. Please be advised that the funds in her account are currently being moved to a trust for her long-term care. All outstanding balances will be settled by the end of the month. Do not contact the patient directly as she is in recovery. Signed, Ryan Miller." The courtroom is paralyzed. This is the unveiling from the 3K formula. In one single paragraph, Ryan didn't just admit the money wasn't a gift. He admitted he was acting as her fiduciary. He admitted he knew about the bills. And most importantly, he admitted he was intentionally blocking the hospital from telling his mother that her money was gone. "You see, Ryan," Judy says, leaning over the bench until she is just inches from his frozen face. "A gift doesn't come with a promise to pay hospital bills. A gift doesn't require you to lie to a billing department to keep your mother in the dark. You weren't a gift recipient. You were a self-appointed financial representative who used that title to facilitate a theft. You told the hospital you were moving the money to a trust. The only thing you trusted, Ryan, was that your mother wouldn't find out until you'd spent every last dime." Eleanor covers her mouth with her hand. She hadn't seen this note. She didn't know he had gone that far to actively hide her debts while spending her survival fund. This is the tu huert of our story, the moment of total, unadorned betrayal. It's the realization that her son didn't just take her money. He was willing to let her be evicted and sued just so he could keep his image intact. Ryan tries to stammer out a new excuse. I was just trying to buy more time. I was going to pay it back once the business took off. That note was it was just a formality. A formality? Judy roars, finally letting her fury break the surface. It's a confession. It's a written admission that you knew that money was for her care. You lied to the hospital, you lied to the bank, and you've been lying to me for the last 40 minutes. You didn't borrow time, Ryan. You stole her peace of mind. You took the security she earned over 35 years of backbreaking labor, and you burned it for a car that you're going to lose the moment I sign this judgment. Ryan looks around the room, but there is no one left to charm. The court officers are staring at him with stony faces. The gallery is silent. The arrogant son is gone. In his place stands a man who has finally realized that in Judge Judy's world, the truth isn't something you can negotiate, it's something that eventually finds you, no matter how fast you drive. There is a particular kind of shadow that falls over a person when their excuses finally run out. Ryan stands at the podium, and for the first time, he isn't looking at Judge Judy. He isn't looking at the cameras. He is looking at the floor, his expensive Italian leather shoes suddenly looking very small and very out of place. The arrogant son who walked into this room thinking he was untouchable has vanished. In his place is a man who realizes he has traded his mother's survival for a lifestyle that is about to disappear in a heartbeat. Judge Judy leans back, her eyes cold and clinical. She isn't just a judge anymore. She is the voice of every parent who has ever been betrayed. Mr. Miller, she says, her voice echoing in the absolute stillness of the room. You've spent this morning talking about your image. You've talked about your business. But let's look at the reality of your financial standing. I've reviewed your personal filings. You have zero assets. You have no income. Your entire life, from the clothes on your back to the car you drove to this courthouse, is a lie built on the back of a woman who spent 35 years on her feet in a hospital ward. She pauses, letting the weight of that truth sink in. You didn't just take her money, Ryan. You took her peace. You took her ability to sleep at night without wondering if she'll be evicted. And you did it all so you could play the part of a big shot in front of people who don't even know your name. That isn't business. That is a moral bankruptcy so deep, I don't think $50,000 can even begin to cover it. This is the point of no return. For our audience, this is the moment of moral satisfaction. We are watching the privilege collapse in real time. Ryan tries to find one last spark of his former arrogance. He looks up, his voice cracking. I'll pay her back. Once my deals close, I'll give her every cent. I just need more time. Time? Judy fires back, the word hitting like a physical blow. Time is the one thing your mother doesn't have a surplus of. Sir, she is 72 years old. She worked for 35 years so that her time now could be spent in dignity, not in a courtroom begging her own flesh and blood for the money he stole while she was in a hospital bed. You don't get more time. You've had 4 months, and all you've done is hide the bills and lie to the doctors. Judy turns to Eleanor. Eleanor, I am looking at your mortgage statement. You are 3 months behind. The bank has started the foreclosure process. Did Ryan ever tell you that your home was at risk? Eleanor shakes her head slowly, her eyes wet with a grief that goes far beyond money. No, Judge. He told me the mail was just junk. He told me he was taking care of it. I almost lost the house I've lived in for 40 years. My grandchildren's growth is marked on the doorframe of that kitchen. He knew that, and he still let the payments fail. This is the heart hole of the betrayal. It's not just about the cash. It's about the home, the sacred space of the family. Ryan's willingness to let his mother lose her home while he lived in luxury is the ultimate pain point for our viewers. It's the betrayal of the most basic human contract. Judge Judy looks back at Ryan, and the look on her face is one of pure, unmitigated disgust. You see, Mr. Miller, you thought you were the predator and she was the prey. But you forgot one thing. The law doesn't care about your image. It doesn't care about your potential. It cares about what you did. And what you did was leave your mother defenseless while you played the hero with her checkbook. She picks up her pen, the movement sharp and final. You wanted to be a big man, Ryan? Well, you're about to see what happens when the big man has to answer to the bill. Your car is going to be seized. Your accounts are going to be frozen. And if there is a single cent left in your name, it is going to her. Not to your networking, not to your boutiques, but to the woman you tried to erase. Ryan sags against the podium, his face ashen. The arrogant son archetype has been completely dismantled. He is no longer a businessman. He is a man who has been seen clearly, and the sight is ugly. The humiliation is complete, but the justice is just beginning. The courtroom air feels different now. The tension that was building for the last hour has reached its peak, and the energy in the room is centered entirely on one person, Judge Judy. She doesn't look like a woman who is simply deciding a small claims case. She looks like the protector of every grandmother, every nurse, and every hardworking soul who has ever been taken advantage of. Ryan is still standing at his podium, but the arrogant son has been replaced by a man who looks like he's finally seen the edge of the cliff. Judge Judy picks up her pen. This is the decision moment that our audience craves. Mr. Miller, she begins, her voice cutting through the silence like a cold wind. You came into this room today with a story about a gift. You came here with a smirk, thinking that your mother's love for you would act as your shield. You thought that because she gave you the keys to the house, you had the right to burn it down. But you forgot one thing. A mother's love is a blessing, not a business strategy. She looks at Ryan with a level of clarity that is terrifying. I have seen a lot of thieves in my career, Ryan. I have seen people who rob banks and people who steal cars. But there is a special place in the annals of human cruelty for someone who waits until their parent is on a hospital bed to pick their pockets. You didn't just steal $50,000. You stole her ability to trust. You stole the comfort of her home. You stole the pride she felt when she talked about her son. For everyone listening, this is the validation phase. We are hearing the words we wish we could say to every entitled person who believes the world owes them something for nothing. Judy is speaking for Eleanor, but she is also speaking for the truth. The evidence is undeniable, Judy continues, her voice gaining strength. That yellow note you wrote to the hospital proves you were a fiduciary, not a gift recipient. Your spending habits prove you were a predator, not an entrepreneur. And your behavior in this court, the way you rolled your eyes at your mother's tears, proves that you have no more character than the stolen money in your pocket. She leans forward, her eyes locked onto Ryan's. Here is my judgment. I am awarding the plaintiff, your mother, the maximum amount allowed by law, $5,000, but I am not stopping there. I am making a formal finding of fraud and breach of fiduciary duty. This record is being preserved. I am ordering that the Maserati you bought with her money be seized by the court and sold to satisfy the outstanding debts to the hospital and the mortgage company. Every luxury item you purchased with her sweat and blood is going to be liquidated. Ryan's face goes from white to a sickly gray. But Judge, that car is my only transportation. I have deals in the works. Your deals are as fake as your suit, sir. Judy roars, the sound of her gavel hitting the bench echoing like a final closing door. You want transportation? You can walk. It'll give you time to think about the 35 years your mother spent on her feet to give you a life you didn't deserve. You are a fraud, Ryan. You are a cold, calculating opportunist who got caught. The charade is over. Eleanor lets out a long, shuddering breath. It isn't a sound of victory, it's a sound of release. The health of the soul is returning. She may have lost her savings, but she has regained her truth. For our viewers, this is the emotional payoff. The entitled has been humiliated, and the innocent has been protected. Judge Judy turns to Eleanor, and for the first time, her face is truly gentle. Eleanor, I can't give you back the son you thought you had, but I can give you back your home. I can give you back your security, and I can tell you, right now, that you have nothing to be ashamed of. The shame belongs to him. Let him carry it. Ryan is escorted out by the court officers. He doesn't look at his mother. He doesn't look at the judge. He just looks at the door, realizing that for the first time in his life, his charm and his lies have hit a wall that won't move. The gavel has fallen, the judgment has been signed, and the courtroom begins to clear. But the story doesn't end with a signature on a piece of paper. As Ryan is led away, stripped of his borrowed status and his stolen Maserati, he looks smaller than he did an hour ago. The suit still fits, but the man inside it has been exposed. He is no longer the entrepreneur or the success story. He is simply a cautionary tale about what happens when greed swallows gratitude. For those of you who have stayed with us until the end, this isn't just about $50,000. It's about the invisible threads that hold a family and a society together. It's about the sacred trust between a parent and a child. Eleanor walks out of that courtroom today with her head held high. She still has the scars from her surgery, and she still has a long road of financial recovery ahead of her. But she has something that Ryan will never understand. She has her integrity. The arrogant son thought he was winning because he had the passwords. He thought he was smart because he found a loophole in his mother's kindness. But as Judge Judy so powerfully demonstrated, life has a way of balancing the books. You can hide a debt for a month or a year, But you cannot hide your character forever. Eventually, the paper trail of your life catches up to you. As Eleanor stands on the courthouse steps, breathing in the fresh air of her reclaimed freedom, she tells a reporter one final thing. She says, "I didn't do this to hurt him. I did this to save him from becoming the person he was pretending to be." Sometimes, the greatest act of love is holding someone accountable. This is the lesson for all of us. Whether you are 72 or 28, your image is nothing if it isn't built on a foundation of truth. If you treat the people who raised you as obstacles to be bypassed or bank accounts to be drained, you aren't moving forward, you are hollowed out. Justice was served in room 502 today. The Maserati will be sold, the hospital will be paid, the mortgage will be caught up, but more importantly, a message was sent to every Ryan out there who thinks the elderly are easy targets. Judge Judy is watching, the law is listening, and the truth is never as lonely as you think. If this story touched your heart, if you believe that honor should come before profit, then take a moment to share this. Remind someone today that a mother's love is a gift that should be protected, not a resource to be exploited. Because in the end, we don't take our bank accounts with us, we only take the way we treated the people who loved us first. Thank you for watching a moment of true justice. Until next time, remember, keep your receipts, keep your word, and most importantly, keep your character.